and I saw some chords, and I mean, they would literally put this up on the board and everybody would go, and then she'd say, that's a healthy voice. This person's healthy, no complaints.
Wow.
So it really is kind of an important thing, especially if you're going to do this for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is
Yeah, that's it.
man, this is all we got,
That's right. It's true.
and our bodies too. I mean, I would say the same thing to dancers.
Oh, yes.
You keep, if something keeps happening to a part of your body, check it out, get an X-ray, or go and see a therapist, doctor, whatever, to find out what it is that's going on.
Thank you so much, Jerry, for breaking that down with the vocals because I keep telling a lot of my students, if you want to do Broadway, you have to do all three well. Sing, dance, and act, right? Those triple threats. So you really need to take care of every part of your body so that
Yeah.
that they can actually and be able to have that sustainability and longevity. And not just book a gig and then you have to leave the show because you're in bad vocal or physical health, and then they have to replace you because it's show business. And if the show, like, all
And
the
it's happening a lot.
it is happening. Yeah, it's happening a lot in New York right now on Broadway. You're right. But, back, 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't. We were doing those shows and then those tours for years and years at a time. And then when the tours would close, we'd go over to Europe and do them for 5, 6, 7. Starlight Express is still running 25 years in Germany. I think Cats is still running in Hamburg
I think so,
24
yeah.
or 23 years. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's great because why? We all still have work.
And I think it's more important now because the way the composers are writing, I mean, I freely admit that some of the vocal prowess that is
Hmm.
required, some of these vocal, look,
What is it,
how
like
can you expect somebody
gymnastics?
to do that? Yeah, it's like, I call it vocal pyrotechnics. I'm like, really? They used to do that on the stage with a flash pot. Now you
Right.
expect me to do that vocally,
With your voice, right.
a lot of the rock shows where they're really pounding
Yeah.
those songs out, there's gotta be there's got to be a sense of we've got to take care of these voices, and it was interesting because this was a big part of this meeting that I went to. If they
Okay.
were like, the way these kids are days, they're getting they're throwing them out like tissues because they can't last, and they were trying to figure out how can we teach them, how
Oh,
can we as therapists and as teachers teach them to sing in a way that will still give them that power, but they can maintain and carry this through and have a career.
yeah.
Because 5 years doesn't make a career.
No, it sure doesn't. It's more like
You know,
25, 30 years.
yeah,
That's,
yeah.
that's the
And it used to
sustainability.
be that you could, but
Yes.
I'm in awe of some of the stuff these people have to sing now.
Wow.
Um, I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could have done it. I mean, obviously, I'm older now, so it would be harder. But even as a
Right.
young singer, I don't know if I could have sustained the stuff that they're asking
Yeah,
them
like
to
eight,
do.
and especially 8 shows a week, because I know in some of the shows, they just have understudies for the leads, and they don't even do the matinees anymore. Whereas we didn't have that.
Mhm.
You're singing songs like Wicked, shows like Wicked and whatever, where it's just full on belt.
Yeah, and they're, the whole opera, the sung through musical, the Les Mises
Yes.
and even Cats, although there were, we call them booth singers, pit singers,
Mm-hmm.
that helped the vocals. These kids we had to sing. I mean, and of course I did, but the dancers had to sing while they were dancing, while they were
Mm-hmm.
doing this crazy choreography.
Yeah.
Um, and so you've got to know your stuff. I really recommend studying, if nothing else, for singers and dancers. Learn to breathe, learn that breath, that process of breathing, a performance way of breathing,
Okay.
because it'll carry you through. It really will.
Thank you so much for that. That was, excellent because a lot of us, still those of us that have been doing it for a long time, we need to be reminded, right? Amen. And then those that are coming up underneath of us, for us to be able to, we're mentors, we're teaching, we need to give them that information. So, I thank you so much for that because that is important. Without our health, we can't do anything.
Hmm.
We can't do
Yeah.
anything about how your own show came about and how you started creating your own charts, gathering together your own musicians for your own show that you tour. Tell us about how that came to be.
Well, it was kind of
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, wait a minute, Jerry.
do some concerts. Yeah, are you here?
Yep, hold
It,
on, we're starting to break up a bit. Okay, now you're okay.
uh,
Because I'm almost done, but I want to wrap this up with this part with you. Okay,
okay.
so
Um,
tell us how you started your own show and created your own charts, pulling your own musicians together, and now what you were doing with your own show, traveling throughout the United States.
Well, I had been hired to do some concert work and with a group of people and really discovered that I did it very well. And I started getting phone calls separately saying, we can't really afford everybody, but, we'd like to hire you. And so it started me to thinking, I really enjoy doing this and I think I could do this on my own. And so I started writing. I started thinking about what I would bring to this, and it really kind of wrote itself because it basically follows the arc of my career. I do the roles that I did. I tell stories because I'm a story collector. I love
Mm-hmm.
hearing theater lore and and I've been lucky enough to be a part of a lot of it. And so the stories sort of came out of just my career, my life. And I decided I needed money because charts are not cheap. Good charts are not cheap. So I approached a friend. I had the background doing the ships, and I thought, oh, maybe I can headline on ships to put together the money to do this, and it'll be good practice and whatever. Not realizing it's such a different animal, and a whole other interview.
Okay.
It's such a different animal than doing concerts on land, but it did afford me the money. I had a great arranger who does this, gets it, understands, and was able to learn to direct and rehearse my own bands. I got the charts. I hired a band to come to my house, my poor dog. Basically, the horn section and the pianist. I didn't need the drums and bass. So they came in and they ran the charts for me so that I knew what I was doing. And I really kind of cut my teeth on the ships with this. I learned how to conduct bands and stuff
Cool.
because I'm able to go out to a concert venue. I hire my guys locally, except for my pianist. He comes out with me. We rehearse and we do it
Now,
that same day.
who's your pianist?
His name is Scott Woolley. He's out of Cincinnati.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
studied at CCM, and he's just a phenomenal musical director and pianist,
Very
and
good.
hysterically funny. And so yeah, and this is how I can bring I bring these concerts in because of course you have to think about the price, and not everybody can afford to fly
Right.
in 10 people. So because they're local, but you got to be able to rehearse them. So it really is a whole other. I could talk about this, for a whole other half an hour because it's an interesting career. It's an interesting alternative or choice or extra or
Right.
we do all these things as part of our career, and
Yes.
I love it. But it is a
So
lot of
great.
work, and it's not just going on and singing songs. You
Right.
need to the patter, which is probably the most important part of doing a one person show, is knowing how to engage your audience, keep them interested in you as a performer and this
Right.
and your stories and your what you're saying and what you're presenting. Um, because if you're not interested, clearly it's like really what time is it?
Now,
And these are two
do you
hour
have
shows.
different?
I do
Oh,
productions.
that's what I was going to ask you. Do you have a 1 hour set, a 2 hour set? Like, how do you have?
I have a 1 hour show, which is, it is called for certain situations. But basically, the show that I tour the most is my two act with an intermission show, and it's called Broadway by Jerry.
Right.
And I'm writing a new show called Devolution, which is basically my journey to Broadway. So
Ooh.
it's pop music, and it's sort of the stuff that I listen to and how I came to be the performer that I am. So I get to sing a
Ooh.
lot of really fun
I was
stuff.
about to say that sounds fun. You gotta
It is, yeah.
keep me posted and let me know. That sounds awesome.
I will. I will. We're having a good time writing it, and I was just actually going over some video that we had done, and it's like, oh yay. So yeah, I mean,
That's
I get to sing
amazing.
everything because when you're a kid, you sing. I
Hmm.
was singing in church, and my dad loved gospel, and
Oh
we would
yes.
sing together, but we would always sing gospel.
Nice.
To start everything out. He would
Right.
always rock into something like that. So, my background is very, I mean, I grew up singing When the Caissons Come Rolling Along,
Right,
because my dad
right.
was in the army. My music background is just really bizarre. But
Yeah, but it's neat because you're gonna get all those different genres within that show, within your new show.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I can't wait, and I can't wait to see it. Number one, and number two, which would be great to be able to ask you back for another interview while you were in, pre-production for that show, because I'm sure that has its own process as well, right? Correct?
Yeah, it does. And we're really at the beginning right now because the charts have not been written because you want to sort of really know where you're going
Right,
before you sit down and write chart. I kind of did it backwards the first time, but it's a process you learn.
right.
I wrote all these charts and, it cost me so much money. And then I realized that I don't use half the charts I wrote.
Ah, okay.
So because a lot of times I was thinking with my heart and not my head, and you have to kind of bring those two together when you're programming a show like that. So I'm trying to do it, a little more expeditiously this time and sort of really get the arc of the show and before I start, throwing money at people saying, write me charts.
Right. Oh,
So
that's
I introduce like a instrumental
nice. So you
and
can
I
go
run
get a
off and
break, right?
yeah.
I
I
mean,
did a Gershwin medley, and I swear to you, I think that orchestra played every Gershwin tune ever written because I'm backstage going,
exactly.
changing clothes, and they're out there. It was very fun when we came up with the idea, my musical director and I, and it was just like he threw in everything but the kitchen sink.
Right. Well, because if it's you. Like you were saying, you're telling your own story, and it's you. So when you've got to go back to stage to get a break, you've got to come on and be fresh for the next song or the
You
next
learn.
story.
You also learn to pace. I mean, and I had a very good friend one time tell me, and we came up with a word for it. We came up with a term for it. You need a stool song. You need to sit down. Give us a break, if not yourself. You've been running
You need
around
a
like a
stool
mad
song.
woman for like 20 minutes, and you need to sit down and sing a song. I'm like, really? They're like, yeah. So, I'm like, I need a stool song. I need a stool song. Where should I put the stool song? So
I love
where you
it.
just sit there and it all calms down,
Yes.
because the audience can't deal with, 11 o'clock numbers for an hour. They're
That's
like, oh.
that's
But
that's true.
that's how you learn. You learn programming, and you learn by trial and error
Right.
unless you really have somebody, and unfortunately, not unfortunately, I'm glad I did it myself because I learned,
Right. I was about to
you know.
say. Now, do you have? I mean, obviously, besides your pianist, who is, I'm sure, also your musical director, do you have someone else that helps you as well too? To like overlook your show and what you want to do, and just
Well, I
visually
have,
and
I'm very lucky to have my musical director helps me a lot, but he really does kind of leave it up to me.
awesome.
Um,
That's nice. Then you have creative control.
Yeah, oh yeah, but he'll say, but he's great because he's like, let's try it. I mean, we'll sit down. I'm like, I have this crazy, and I do. I come up with some really bizarre. Now they call them mashups. I'm like, let's do this with this. Like,
Right. Right.
um, but I'm lucky that I have an agent that's got a really good eye.
Oh,
My concert
great.
agent has a really good eye because I used to book on my own, and now I have an agent that books my
Good.
concerts, which is nice. Um, and so she's got a real good eye, and actually the other performers within the agency were all pretty tight, and
Oh,
so
okay.
everybody's really kind of cool about, hey, have you thought about this kind of thing, or and it's always good because you get so tunnel vision. It's nice. I found doing your own show,
Okay.
you get very tunnel vision, and since you're the only one directing, you're always right.
Right. Right. Right.
And you don't really know until the audience goes, no, you're wrong. And then,
Right.
oh gosh, I wish somebody had told, why didn't anybody tell me that? Well, of
Right.
course they're not going to say that, but,
Right.
and, so it's nice to have people around you that can give you, and I will tell you, I've had people say, I don't think that's going to work. And I'm like, yeah, it will. And
Right.
I've gone on and it has worked,
Okay.
or it hasn't, but I mean, it works both ways. It really just depends on how much you commit to things. And, so much of what you do, you can have the greatest writer in the world, but if you can't go on and commit to the material you're doing,
Right. Then it
Got to
doesn't.
buy it, you
Exactly.
got to believe you. So.
Exactly. How did you get from Broadway to Nashville? That's I'm trying to figure. Yeah, you got to let us know that.
Um, I auditioned for. I came here to do a TV show, and it wasn't a network thing. It was very small potatoes. But I was having trouble. I couldn't get seen in New York for TV because at the time it was very separate. Well, she's a musical theater actress.
True.
That means she can't do TV. I'm like, can we talk about that? Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
But I just couldn't seem to break into it. So when this opportunity came up,
Hmm.
I was like, you know what? I need to do this. I got to do this because I'm not sure if they're going to let me do this.
Right.
So we moved down here. I did the show for 40 years, and in the process, and it was the exact opposite here because here it was, wow, she's from Broadway, she can act.
Yeah.
So I immediately was being put in. I did commercials, I did movies, I did a TV show, I did obviously did this my own TV show, but I got
Right.
cast as in parts in other shows, and so now, I mean, now that I've done it, I'm like, I'm very positive that I could go back, and it's different now as well. I mean, the
Yes.
business is ever changing, but that's the reason basically. At the time, I took a chance, and I thought this is what I need to do if I want to explore this kind of performing as well, and so that's what I did.
Oh, I love it. That is so cool. And so, how long have you been down there for now?
We've actually been down here for a long time. I think I've explored it for a long time. I think.
Has it been over 10?
Yeah, no, I think it's been like 10
10. Yeah.
years.
Okay.
Because I did a tour.
Hmm.
I toured Fiddler again with Theodore Bickel. So, and I've done shows, here and there.
Yeah.
Um, so it hasn't been a complete breakaway. But for a long time, I really was enjoying doing the concerts because that's sort of where the concert thing came from.
Oh,
Was, okay, now I'm down here and I need to create work and.
right.
Um, So, and while I was filming, it was kind of hard to be in a show. I
Yeah.
didn't have the time to do that. So that's kind of where all that started to come from as well. So,
Oh,
but it's been a while. But
that's
it's
neat.
funny. Just recently, I'm turning back to theater and really kind of recapturing that. I want to do some shows. It's time. It's
Okay.
time. So, and I'm actually getting ready in May. I'll be doing a show called Always Patsy Cline down in Fort Worth, Texas.
Oh, okay. I thought you were doing it up here by us in Pennsylvania. They're getting ready to do another one up here. That's such a great show.
Oh, are they? Yeah, it's a great show. And the interesting thing for me is they approached me about doing Patsy Cline. Now, this is in Texas.
Right.
I'm like, well, maybe in New Jersey I could play Patsy Cline, but I don't think I could play Patsy Cline in Texas. I'm like, these people are serious.
Yeah.
So I'm actually playing the best friend,
Oh,
Louise, and it's a
cool.
strictly acting
I
role.
know.
And
I know.
basically, she talks the whole show. I'm in the process. I have 2 months. I'm already memorizing.
Which is great. That's so
Yeah.
awesome.
So, but it's gonna be.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm. It's different. I mean, it's and challenging, and part of me is like, are they really gonna want to hear me talk for that long? Can I do this?
Can I
Can
just
I?
sing? No.
No songs to fall back on. It's all
Right.
about the acting, and
Wow.
so I'm excited about it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. Thank you so
Okay.
much.